4 most terrifying CIA experiments. Number 4 is MK Ultra. MK Ultra was the CIA's secret mind control project during the Cold War. Yeah, mind control. Starting in the 1950s, they went full mad scientist, trying to figure out how to manipulate and control the human brain. They were obsessed with breaking people's minds, literally, to turn them into spies, assassins, or even living truth machines. The stuff they did under MK Ultra sounds like a bad horror movie. They tested LSD on everyone, from military personnel to civilians. No consent, no warnings. They locked people in rooms, gave them drugs, and blasted them with strobe lights or weird noises. One infamous part of this was Operation Midnight Climax, where they ran fake brothels, drugged unsuspecting men with LSD, and watched them from behind two-way mirrors. Like, imagine thinking you're having a fun night out and suddenly you're part of the CIA's Twisted Science Fair project. The CIA tried to destroy all the evidence of MK Ultra when it started getting exposed in the 1970s, but some documents survived, and a congressional hearing in 1975 revealed the project to the public. People were shocked, but let's be honest, no one really got punished. Number 3, the Monster Study. Back in 1939, way before the CIA started running its own messed up experiments, Dr. Wendell Johnson at the University of Iowa ran this infamous psychological experiment on orphans. The goal? To figure out if stuttering was something you were born with, or if it was caused by outside influences, like criticism. Sounds simple, right? But the way they went about it was absolutely cruel. The experiment. They took 22 kids from an orphanage and split them into 2 groups. The praise group. These kids got showered with compliments about their speech. Everything was sunshine and rainbows for them. The criticism group. This is where things got dark. These kids were nitpicked for every little speech mistake. They were told they were stuttering, even if they didn't actually have a problem. Imagine being a kid and constantly hearing, "You're speaking wrong. You're not good enough." The result? The kids in the criticism group became so anxious and self-conscious that some actually developed speech problems they didn't have before. Years later, even the researchers themselves realized how cruel this experiment was. Dr. Johnson's grad student, Mary Tudor, admitted she regretted being a part of it and referred to it as monstrous. The name stuck, and honestly, it fits perfectly. The monster study stayed hidden for decades. It didn't become public until 2001, when the University of Iowa was forced to address it. They issued an apology, but for the kids, many of whom grew up with lifelong speech issues and trauma, it was way too late. Number 2, Operation Midnight Climax. Picture this. It's the 1950s. The CIA is knee-deep in their MK Ultra experiments, and someone at HQ says, "Hey, what if we run a secret brothel to study mind control?" And everyone's like, okay. So they set up fake brothels in places like San Francisco and New York City. They hired sex workers to lure unsuspecting men back to these spots. And here's the kicker. As soon as the men walked in, they were dosed with LSD without their knowledge. The idea was to study how drugs like LSD affected people in real-world situations. They wanted to see if they could get people to spill their secrets under the influence. Basically, they were trying to figure out how to use drugs as a weapon for interrogations or even mind control. The sex workers were in on it, and guess what? CIA agents were watching the whole thing go down through two-way mirrors. The mastermind of this madness was a CIA agent named George Hunter White. This guy was wild. He loved the power trip of running these secret experiments, and reportedly even bragged about how much fun he was having. Operation Midnight Climax officially ended in the mid-1960s, but not because the CIA suddenly grew a conscience. It was more about shifting priorities and public scrutiny as parts of MK Ultra started coming to light. Number 1, the C.I.A. The US Army wanted to test how vulnerable American cities were to a biological attack. Instead of running simulations or using, common sense, they decided to spray real bacteria over San Francisco to see how far it would spread. Their weapon of choice? A bacteria called Serratia marcescens, which they claimed was harmless. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The military loaded this bacteria into giant sprayers on ships and cruised along the California coast. Over 6 days, they released a fog of Serratia into the air, letting the wind carry it over San Francisco. The idea was to track how far the bacteria could travel and how many people might be exposed in a real attack. Sounds like a genius idea, right? Except, You know, for the whole human lives being at risk part. At first, people didn't even realize what was happening. But soon after, a spike in rare infections hit local hospitals. One man, Edward Nevin, died after developing a heart infection caused by C.I.A. Others got sick, but no one connected the dots until years later when the operation was declassified. By then, the damage was done. That's all, guys. Please like and subscribe, and always remember that